Hello there and welcome back. In the previous video, I showed you how to go from a standard Rust code or project generated with the intention of compiling for the native host architecture. And in that video, we learned how to include no STD, no main, no mangle, including a panic handler, just so we make it possible for us to be able to compile or cross compile, if I want to be correct, to compile this for the target microcontroller unit. And in the immediate past video, when I was explaining to you the execution sequence from reset to main, I also told you that there's the need for some runtime setup, like setting the main stack pointer and also the vector table and all that. And I told you that even though I can show you how to do that from scratch, I believe it's going to get in the way of learning at the moment, because I know you are itching to learn how to control GPIOs and send data over UART and do I2C and SPI and all that cool stuff. So I'm going to defer all that truly fundamental stuff to the end of this course, so that we can leverage crates that are available that makes this work easy. And the truth also is that even in production, there are very few times that you will have to manually take charge of setting up your runtime environment. So these crates I'm going to introduce to you are really cool. You need to know about them, and then I'll show you how to use them to accomplish the same thing in this project. So I'm going to go to crate.io, which is where Rust keeps all of the external libraries that are available. And then we take a look at some of them. So there is a cortex-m-rt, which stands for Cortex-M runtime. It says startup code and minimal runtime code for Cortex-M microcontrollers. And because we are compiling for the STM32, which is a Cortex-M, we can literally just use this. Okay, so we can come here and then copy this, and then we add it to our dependencies. So I'm going to come to my project cargo.toml, and down here I'm going to add this, and I'm going to save, and it's going to pull the library and add it. So this is going to help us to get the runtime set up for our Cortex-M microcontroller. And what it means is that setting the stack pointer and creating the vector table is already going to be handled for us. It's also going to give us a macro that we can use to indicate our entry point and many other things that we will see in the course. The next one that I'm going to introduce you to is panic-halt. So panic-halt is very simple. It just helps us to avoid having to create the panic handler on our own. So I'm going to add that also here, and I'll show you how we can use it to take care of not having to manually implement the panic handler. What the panic-halt does is, this particular library, it just causes your firmware to hang indefinitely when there is a panic, which is a sensible default in many cases. But of course, there are ways by which you can also override what happens when a panic occurs. Okay, there are different panic libraries. There is a panic-RTT and panic-ITM, different ones that we'll see when it is needed. The reason I'm choosing this approach is, when you are getting started building firmware in Rust, the truth is you can easily get lost because of the different options out there. So I'm only introducing things as and when they are necessary. Now this one, RISC-V RT, is for RISC-V CPUs, such as the RISC-V processors that are used on some ESP32 boards, and I think some Raspberry Pi Pico boards also come with an ARM core and one RISC-V core. Essentially, if you are targeting RISC-V processors with your Rust firmware, you want to use the RISC-V RT, but we are using Cortex-M, so we're going to stick with the Cortex-M. Now that we've added these libraries, let's see how we can replace some of the things we did manually. So we have the panic-halt library in there, and so what happens is we can just get rid of this. But the question is, okay, getting rid of this doesn't necessarily solve the problem, because if I come here and I try to compile, is it internet or what? Yes, I was expecting it to fail, and it did, because we have removed the panic handler, and it's expected that we have the panic handler. So what we do is we can just come here. We don't also need it, so we can remove it. By the way, this is not the reason why it failed, right? I'm just going to redo it just so you know this is not the reason why it failed. It is always going to fail because there is no panic handler. So what we're going to do is I'll say use panic-halt as underscore. So just importing it and aliasing it as an underscore, let the library provide the panic handler for us. That is it. So I can just come here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build again, and you see that this time it works. So we didn't have to manually provide the panic handler. The panic halt is sensible enough for what we want to do. If you're curious and you want to go in there, you can also go into the library, and you can see how it works. It's basically just like what we did, right? It's a very simple library. So it has the panic, it has the panic info. It is marked as a panic handler, and it's also in an infinite loop, and it is returning the never type, and this is it. So it's just 100% replication of what we have, just that this is a small library that we can fall on, so not too much to it. Okay, all right, so now we are done with the panic handler. The next question is how are we going to use the cortex-m-rt or the runtime library? At the moment, there are many things that we can use it for. At the moment, the most important thing is we can use it to mark this function as our entry. So you can see that the entry is coming from cortex-m-rt entry. So it imports this one here, and that is just about it. So let's try to compile this, and it says the function must have a signature. So you see it is forcing us to do what is right, and it's calling for unsafe. Okay, so not compulsory, but it just have to have the never type as the return. Okay, and again, if you are curious, you can also go in here. This is a macro, so you will only understand it if you know how to write macros. If you don't know how to write macros in Rust in general, this is not going to help you so much, but you can use it, just entry, and then it marks this. Apart from that, not because it's important here, I just wanted to show you some of the other things we can do with this library. You can see it also has the exception macro, and it helps us to override so this I'm typing and speaking. I'm going to finish and then I'll speak to you. All right, so you see it also provides this exception macro that helps us to override certain sensible weak default implementations of some of the functions in the vector table. So for example, this systic here is an interrupt handler, and it must be called systic. It must be called systic, and it is coming from the library. So look at it. If we hadn't included the cortex-m-rt create, we would have to implement a lot of things on our own. Like we have to provide, all of these are things that we would have to do in the vector table, and it takes care of all of these. Apart from that, it also includes the definition of a memory layout that is used by the linker, and it also makes it possible for us to override our memory layout, because it is generic, and different microcontrollers, even from the same vendor. For example, if I choose STM32 microcontrollers, there are different memory layout for the different microcontroller boards or the dev boards out there. And so it doesn't make an assumption, and it gives you the possibility to define your own memory layout by creating a file called memory.x, and then we define the memory layout. We are going to see all of that, but it is possible because we have added this cortex-m-rt runtime. So as you can see, it builds all right, and we can also be receiving interrupt events when they do happen. So if I had written proper code here to be notified when the system timer, these are all things we talk about, reaches a particular point, it can notify me, and whatever code I put in here is going to be executed as an interrupt handler in response to the system timer hitting the particular reload value that I set. We will get to know all of that. So these are two key creates that you want to know about and you actually want to use, because it's going to save you a lot, especially the cortex-m-rt. I mean, for panic-halt, you could literally do it by hand, and it's not the most difficult thing. But for the runtime setup, such as zeroing out the BSS, copying the data section and all that, this guy right here takes care of it for you. Apart from cortex-m-rt, there's also cortex-m. So let's see what that does. So I'm going to cortex-m, and this is it. It says low level access to cortex-m processor. We will also see this exposes the low level peripherals and an aspect of the cortex-m processor itself, and in due time we will see how to use this library to also continue or build our firmware. So this is it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video where we talk about the different memories in your STM32 dev board or processors. Thank you and see you.